Hi guys, this is Zane from Anything for Geeks, and today we're going to talk about Dromaeosaurus. Dromaeosaurus is a member of the dinosaur family called the Dromaeosaurus, and which are informally known as raptors. Now, raptors include animals like Dromaeosaurus, as we mentioned, and velociraptors, and Utahraptors, Deinonychus, and a lot of species. We've covered two raptors in this channel already, which are Velociraptor. We have an episode on Velociraptor, and we also have an episode on Houseraptor, which was another dromaeosaur, which was actually amphibious. And so today we're going to be talking about Dromaeosaurus, and also we're going to be talking a lot about just general raptors or dromaeosaurs, and more specifically their relation to birds and some defining features. So to start off, in this drawing, so this is what a dromaeosaur hunting mammals would have looked like. You can see here, if you look really closely, right there, look at the foot. You can see that one claw and a foot is being held up. So I have a 5-finger hand, but if this was 3 fingers or 3 toes, one would be always held up, and that is called the sickle claw. It's especially curved, it's very large, and it's very sharp. And it was probably used for slashing at prey. And one important thing to note is, let's see, all dromaeosaurs were carnivores. They ate meat. Also, you can see here it's hunting mammals. This is an ancient Cretaceous mammal. So that's what they ate. Now, the name Dromaeosaurus and dromaeosaur means running lizard in Greek, and that is because these animals were once presumed to be fast runners, and they are agile. They were very slender. They had strong muscles, but people once thought they were very fast. For example, in both the novel and the movie Jurassic Park, velociraptors, which were actually based on Deinonychus, the raptors in that franchise are portrayed with speeds rivaling that of a cheetah's and high intelligence, almost as high as the humans, and that was actually improbable. For example, this toy, this is inaccurate, this is actually a velociraptor, not Dromaeosaurus. But it gets one thing right if you look at the legs. So the speed of an animal is determined by the length of its foot or the length of its stride. And in dinosaurs, that is determined by how long the foot is after this ankle joint. In velociraptors, let's see. Yeah, in velociraptors, that joint is almost at the bottom of the foot, implying that they were not very fast runners. So you have and we can assume this and from for raptors, all raptors, and we have a lot of material for raptors. We have tons of genera and lots of fossils, so we can assume that, or we actually know that they were not very fast now. And to open debate is intelligence. Raptors seem to have had a bird-like a level of intelligence. Just to how much extent, we don't actually know, but raptors seem to have evolved a strong sense of smell compared to sight and touch. However, their eyes are adapted for nocturnal vision, and therefore their senses are very adapted. highly specialized for nocturnal predator. However, their intelligence is still questionable. They probably would have had the intelligence of at least like a squirrel, and that is actually high among dinosaurs, but not high among like animals when you consider that a squirrel is usually not very smart. So yeah, that's what their intelligence is. Now, the subject of feathers is still kind of a debate, but we do know that a velociraptor had like feathers on its arms or like wings. So like you can see here in this drawing, this velociraptor is covered in feathers, and it has even larger feathers on its arms, which we could call wings, and also its tail. It has a tail fan or tail front, I guess you could call it that. One thing to be noted among raptors is that even in feathered portrayals, they are portrayed with bald heads, with the feathers ending like about here or about like here at the neckline. And this is highly improbable. Most birds actually have like feathers past their eyes and like going on into the beak. So I have portrayed this, and most paleo artists portray raptors with feathers actually going past their eyes and not behind it. So yeah, that's just another thing to take note of. One thing that I would mention is from this try, apart from of course the feathers, is that raptor heads are very narrow and long. This does kind of do that, but it's still a bit too like robust for Velociraptor. Now I don't think we actually discussed this in the Velociraptor episode, but there are a lot of distinctions between the Dromaeosaurus themselves. So Dromaeosaurus and Velociraptor are only distantly related in their own family. So let's say this is a Velociraptor, this is a Dromaeosaurus. Now, this is a Velociraptor as a toy. This is a very dubious description. This is right now some kind of raptor. I would say it's kind of like a Velociraptor from like the long head and the narrowness. But there are a lot of like clades in a Dromaeosauria, and some clades are, so first there's the Microraptorinae. That includes animals like Microraptor, which have like tiny sickle claws. They have very large wing fronts and a huge covering of feathers. Definitely wings that were used for gliding, and also wings on the legs. So you'll notice here the forelimbs or the forearms have wings, but the hind legs do not. That is a trait only common to Dromaeosauria, which is basically all Dromaeosaurs that are not in Microraptorinae. Microraptorinae has wings on its feet, which are very weird, but obviously very useful. In the Dromaeosauria, however, there are even more distinctions. First, there are the Dromaeosaurines or Dromaeosaurina, which include animals such as Dromaeosaurus, of course. Other animals such as Deinonychus. Then there are the Utahraptorinae, a closely related group, which include the largest and like about human-sized, or let's say about the size of a car. Raptors such as Utahraptor, the largest raptor, Aculobator, a raptor found in Mongolia, almost the same size as Utahraptor, and the equally sized Dakota raptor found in South Dakota and the surrounding regions. So those are the Utahraptorinae. Then we have the Velociraptorinae, and those contain the Velociraptor, let's see, some other stuff. The Sauronetholesni are another highly closely related clade to the Velociraptorines, and those contain Sauronetholestes, Bambiraptor, etc. And then we have another a more distantly related clade of Dromaeosaurus called the Unanlaginae, and those are very weird. They are very large, but they're also very slender. They're more like the Velociraptorines than say the Utahraptorines. What they have in size, they lack for in musculature, and they were very long. They had long legs, and they were very slender. They're also very, very, very bird-like. So Unanlagia is one Unanlagine. There are others, of course. Let's see. I'm trying to recall some of them. For further notice, but they're the Unanlagines. So they are very bird-like, yeah. So that's basically all the clades within the Dromaeosaurus. They're possibly even more and more smaller distinctions, but I don't think there are any major distinctions anymore until you get to genera and stuff like that. So yeah. Some other things that I would like to mention. Their relation to birds. Raptors were, so we know a Velociraptor from the 1920s or 30s, I think. Yeah, from the 1920s. There wasn't really much scientific study of it or much public interest in dinosaurs during that time, because both world wars were going on and the Great Depression. So people had more interest in where their money was going and whether their country was going to win the war, and more than what came out of Mongolia that looked very much like a bird. But people paleontologists kind of noticed the similarity to birds. Velociraptor was compared to a Jurassic dinosaur called Ornitholestes, and Ornitholestes was actually not a raptor. It was actually from a distantly related clade called the Coelurosaurs, which the raptors are a part of, but Ornitholestes belong to a different part. I think Ornitholestes was in Compsognathidae, which was another family of small dinosaurs, very small. So yeah, that's one thing. But back then, Ornitholestes was portrayed as agile, and Velociraptor was also recognized as agile. But mostly, people thought of it as a lizard. And after that, the next the thing that we find is Deinonychus, which was also very agile and had an almost identical skeleton to the first bird ever discovered, Archaeopteryx, which we know for a century before. So yeah, people noticed the similarities to birds. However, people, when they restore raptors, they think, oh yeah, we don't know this, but raptors are so similar to birds that we can just fill all up stuff with bird features, which is actually untrue, because they're still separate families. You can't probably read the text here, but you'll notice this area are the Dromaeosaurus. So if you can look here, say the red and the blue are the Dromaeosaurus, and like this like green down here, the dark green, that's birds. So you can see there's actually quite a few splits between them. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's like a couple of splits in the family tree with them. So yeah, that's basically what I would say. On like relation to birds. In regard to relation with other dinosaurs, the Dromaeosaurus belong to a larger clade called the Maniraptora, which include like the Dromaeosaurus, of course. Then the Oviraptorids, which are another extremely bird-like a group of feathered dinosaurs. The Troodontids, which were actually more closely related to birds than raptors, but actually looked very similar to raptors, even going as far as to copy the sickle claw, which was a trademark signature of the raptors. But in regard to other dinosaurs, so all of these families form Maniraptora, and Maniraptora was part of the Coelosaurian clade, as I mentioned before. The Compsognathids were another family in the Coelurosauria. Those contained Compsognathus, possibly Ornitholestes, Coelurus, and like a lot of other animals. So that's one thing that the raptors are related to. The other one is our favorite and most recognizable dinosaur ever, which is T-Rex. It might be surprising that something with such tiny arms and the most robust frame ever would be related to something that was very slender, with long arms, and that was very small. Now, that gets me to mention the topic of size. Raptors are often portrayed as human-sized animals. This is due to the fact that in Jurassic Park, the raptors are very large. They're 6 feet tall and possibly like 20 feet long. That's very large. And that's not real raptor size. Only the largest raptors, and which were not like very well known raptors at the time, got to that size. For example, Velociraptor was only 2 feet tall, probably even less than like that. It was the size of an overgrown chicken. Deinonychus was not much better off. It was the size of a coyote, and that was like pretty much a usual Dromaeosaurus size. Sauornitholestes, Sauornitholestes, which a long name. It was a relative of Velociraptor. Yeah, it was also around Velociraptor size. But the Unalugans were a bit larger. They got close to like human size. Unalagia, for example, was one of the larger dromaeosaurs. However, even larger was Aculobator, which was about almost 6 feet tall. A Dakota raptor also around that size. Utahraptor, which is above 6 feet tall. The largest ones could have perhaps almost reached up to 7 feet. Were the largest raptors, and the raptors that we see in Jurassic Park probably got close to about like Aculobator size. One surprising fact that I would like to mention here. This is more like just random trivia or a joke. So the raptors in Jurassic Park were based on, they were based on Deinonychus, but they are called velociraptors. They're said to be from China and around Mongolia. The funny thing is, no velociraptor or Deinonychus ever got close to the size that we see in Jurassic Park and other like popular movies and games and like other stuff. And instead, what happened is after the movie was released, scientists in Mongolia found the claws of Aculobator, which was then that actually fit the movie Velociraptors, and yeah, so Steven Spielberg, the director of Jurassic Park, the movie, said we made it, and they found it, which was referring to the Velociraptors. They made like huge raptors. Then the paleontologists found it. I think it's just kind of a neat joke. To now. That's basically all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. I'll be seeing you next time. Bye.